Hello, so I thought I'd do a video today on some cheap knives that are fairly good, and when I say cheap I mean probably under £20 or $20 in most places per knife. So this doesn't mean they're of exceptional quality or anything like that, it simply means that you can buy them for not much money. You know, if you lose them it's not the end of the world, but they're quite good for the price. So I'm going to start from left to right where I've laid them out there in no particular order. Mora knives, these are absolutely great, Swedish knives. Normally they're about half tang, but there are some full tang ones. Most are stainless steel, but they do some carbon steel ones. They come in sort of a plastic handle sort of holster they snap into, sheath. And they come in all sorts of sizes. They normally come very sharp, and I found they're very practical. The grip's moulded well enough that, you know, it fits your hand quite well. And I found these are really practical for cutting cardboard and things like this. There's a couple of different ways you can attach it, either to your belt, you know, onto a neck type thing on there. But Mora knives are very cheap for what they are. You can get them in different sizes and colours and everything else. But if you're looking for a kind of fixed blade kind of knife, these are very good for cheap end knives. Thank you for all the people who've recommended them to me. And these are one of these knives that you can sort of use and abuse when it eventually breaks. You know, just buy another one because they don't cost very much. Classic Swiss Army penknife, you can get these with all sorts of different attachments on, depending on how thick they are with all the different attachments, depends on how much they'll cost you. But they normally all come with two types of blade. Obviously you don't even really want to open one blade at once. You've got your blade that's just under 3 inches there. Looks like I've got some dirt on that I have to clean off. Don't know what that is. I think that's a bit of wax. Yeah, I think that's a bit of wax from a candle. And then you've got like your short blade, I guess that's only just about over 1 inch long. Generally I've always found a short blade seem to be sharper than longer blades on these. These are quite easy to sharpen, stainless steel, it doesn't really rust even if you get it quite dirty. And obviously on the Swiss Army knife you've got lots of other attachments. You can get most good Swiss Army knives for under £20. Obviously as you get bigger and bigger they do go up in cost, but I kind of find for practicality reasons I like it to have knives on there, probably a bottle opener, and you know, a couple of other things, but there's lots of things on the Swiss Army knife I thought if I used, you know, just wanting one for a pocket, I wouldn't really need those features on it. It's really only the screwdrivers, the bottle opener and the knives that I'd really want on the Swiss Army knife, to be honest, unless I then wanted to go for a really big one. Right, Opinel knives, I've got two here, I've got another one in a drawer. Opinels are brilliant. You can get non-locking under 3 inch ones, which are UK legal carry, like this one. The very tip of this one's snapped off when I was levering stuff with it. I've put a patina on there. As long as you're obviously cutting this way, it's perfectly safe, can't fold on your hand. Opinels come really sharp and they're very, very cheap. This is one I got recently. Opinel number 7, which confusingly has an 8 inch blade. You can see it says number 7 on the metal bit at the top. But basically, you unfold the blade, then the collar locks, so you turn that. Now, the collar will stop the knife blade closing, so that's very safe. You know, an Opinel's brilliant, as I was saying. They come very sharp. Something like this will cost you under £10. This is a stainless steel one, but as I said, as you saw, they do carbon steel ones as well. They do quite a lot of variation on their knives. But if you want to get a knife that is very good for not much money, Opinels are probably the best ones I've found so far. And with a knife like this, once you've folded it down, you can then turn the collar again if you want to stop the knife from opening. I don't really see why you'd need to do that, because if it's in your pocket it's not going to open anyway, but it's a nice feature that you can lock it open or closed. So yeah, Opinels are brilliant. I said if you're using it in the UK you would need a reasonable excuse for a knife like this, reasonable, you know, like reason for having it on you, because this particular one is over 3 inches and it locks. But saying that, Opinels are good as well because they don't look threatening, so it doesn't look like, you know, a knife somebody would think that's a scary knife, you're up to no good with it. They look like your granddad's pocket knife kind of thing, Opinels. But as I said, they come sharp, they don't cost much, and I've never had a problem with them. Okay. This is a Promithi, I think it's called, UK legal knife, I think that's the name they actually gave it, and it's a blade that's slightly under 3 inches, folds into this kind of skeleton frame thing. This is basically, if you think of a Swiss Army knife, without any other tools on it. You've got a better knife than a Swiss Army knife, but with nothing else. Has a pocket clip there, which is always good. I do like pocket clips on knives. I get a lot of practical use from this one. If I'm purposely taking a knife on me somewhere and I need it only for the knife, I normally bring this, not a Swiss Army knife. You know, it's got a bit more tension on it, I guess, than a Swiss Army knife, so it's less likely to close if you were cutting with it in the wrong direction. You've got a nice grip there that actually fits your fingers properly, and as I said, pocket clip, put it in your pocket. So this is very good if you want a knife for, you know, cutting stuff. Like obviously all the other knives are good for cutting, but this one kind of doesn't try and have other features. I think these were well under £10 when I bought them on the UK Amazon. So if you just wanted a UK legal knife that doesn't cost much, these are very good. Skeleton frame helps keep the weight down, but is a bit heavy for its size, but that really doesn't bother with me with knives if they're light or heavy. You know, as long as you've got a steady hand, it doesn't matter. But again, compared to something like an Opinel, this is a UK legal knife. This isn't a UK legal knife, but for me personally, the Opinel looks a lot less threatening. If I just open both of them, I'll show you what I mean. The Opinel, I think, looks a lot less threatening than the one with the kind of metal handle. And the point I'm getting at here is that, you know, while this one you couldn't legally carry on you, you know, every day kind of thing, the Opinel, you know, and this one you could, the Promithi, it looks to be the other way round. I'm saying that's the thing I do like with Opinels, is because they don't look tactical or anything like that, I suppose is the word you'd want to use. Because Opinels, as I was saying, don't look tactical or anything like that, I think you'd have less problem from carrying them than a knife like that, even if the other one is technically more legal than the Opinel is, if you see what I'm getting at. Okay, and last but not least, we have this one. This is an Enlan EL-01, I think. Yep, it says it just on there. And this is a folding sort of lock knife, but it has the flipper on it, which I quite like. So I think the blade on this one, if I remember, was just over 4 inches. Or it might have been about 5 inches. It's not a massive blade, but for a pocket knife this is quite a nicely sized one. So on the back there you've got your pocket clip, obviously that's useful, and it fits well into your hand. Nice wood handle on this one, and obviously it's got a liner lock there, so you push the liner lock in to fold the blade back. So I like this because you can get the blade out very quickly. Flippers aren't illegal in the UK, I will point that out. It's the spring assisted ones, as far as I'm aware, that are illegal, so if you press the button there, you know, and it flicked out like a stiletto, then that would be illegal if it's one, because if you see this, basically, if I do that it doesn't open the blade fully, I have to then do that. Basically you have to flick it while you're pressing it down to get it to open, so for that reason these aren't illegal to own or whatever, but again you'd still need a reasonable excuse or justifiable reason to have this on you, because the blades are longer than 3 inches and it locks. But as I said, a knife like this is very practical. When I'm around the house I carry this on me a lot, and if I have permission from somebody else and I'm doing something with them, I normally carry this on me. The reason being is I personally prefer locking knives because they can't close on your hand. I know if you're cutting normally they never would close on your hand, but you know, I like the added safety of knowing that there's a mechanical, you know, safety in there. So as well as me being sensible with the knife, there's something preventing it from closing. There's nothing on this either like a spring that helps bring it back in, which is what I like, because you don't worry that something might get wrong with a spring and it will slam shut on you. You know, and it's a very good practical knife. When you've got this sharpened, it's very easy to cut open packaging, you know, like cable ties, things like that. So this is a very practical, good knife. All these are practical, good knives, but that was my selection. Depends what you really want to spend. But yeah, for well under 10 quid, you could get an Opinel or the Mora, which I think is brilliant. You know, knives like this. Because people have said to me in my videos, I should save up like £200 and buy a £200 knife. The thing is, I don't really see why I'd want to do that, unless I was buying some sort of really interesting military knife. That doesn't really, you know, interest me. For my everyday uses of a knife, I would rather have one of these that lasts quite a while, you know, as a good knife. When it breaks I can replace it cheaply. I don't see the purpose for myself of spending £200 on a knife and never taking it out anywhere, because I'm scared I might lose it or whatever else, or have it confiscated, something like that. Whereas with knives like this, you use and abuse them, you don't worry about using a knife. When it eventually breaks you can replace it, no harm done. And if you get a year or two out of each of these knives, so you know, the 5 to 10 to maybe even £20 they cost, up to me is a really good amount of money. You know, I think even looking at it logistically, if I had a knife that lasted me 20 years, or 20 years to a lifetime, let's say that I spent £200 on, or I could buy You know, one knife that cost £10, you know, I'd have to buy that one knife, have it break and replace it 20 times for it to equal the same amount of money. Or I could buy several knives for that amount of money. You know, I think I'd rather do that. If you buy lots of little pocket knives as well, like with the little open Ls, you can always button them up in one pocket on one pair of trousers or a coat or something. Then you know whenever you put that coat on, you've actually got your knife ready in the pocket for whatever you might want to do with it. I said I do like this open L carbon a lot as well. As long as you put a patina on it, but this is very sharp. You know, it doesn't look. This doesn't look threatening. Out of all of the UK legal carry knives I've got, I think this one is actually probably the best one in terms of, I think you get the least hassle for carrying it, simply because of the fact, yeah, it's under 3 inches, it's like pocket knife, which we call these type things, you know, and it's actually a very good, sharp, practical knife. There's not much wobble on it, really. As I said, the end did snap off, but I was trying to lever. It's only lost, you know, like a millimetre maybe of the end. That's where I was trying to lever something off, and I really needed a really thin blade, and the thing just wouldn't budge, and eventually, you know, I snapped the end of the open L off, but no damage around the joint or anything like that, which is good. So anyway, that's this video. These are the knives I would recommend for under about £20, I guess. Cheap knives that are actually good.